in places that we might have never expected. And so, in this context, I think we should just be patient and open to the possibilities that this place can offer us. And lastly, and perhaps the most impactful lesson for me today, is the idea of presence over chasing perfection. And I've actually mentioned this in similar videos, but I think what many of us do was chasing really was needed. In fact, some of the most powerful images are the quiet ones in
¿A
our
alguien le
routines,
sobra munición?
scenes where nothing really dramatic happens, but everything feels factual moments. These images remind us then that photography doesn't have to be about chasing the drama and action all the time. It's about sometimes being present in the moment. And I find this
Perro
transforming my
infernal.
own journey when I stop worrying about achieving
Que
perfection
no me
and
ponga
focus
munición.
instead on being fully present. Because once you do it, as photographer Jeremiah Wicks once put it, your work becomes more personal and more meaningful. But I think this idea of slowing down and really taking things in and evaluating what's working for us. I think today, for instance, with photography, we can think about this idea of invisibility and if that works for you, whatever work you're doing, if implementing something like that can change your approach, can change your results and the way you feel about what you're doing. I think this can be an interesting conversation to have. And that's why I wanted to also emphasize this idea of taking a step back, thinking about your work, curating your work, and presenting your work in a different way. And hopefully that, René Bouvier has helped throughout the course of this video. But also, of course, another thing that I wanted to do, and this is, of course, making a bridge for today's sponsor, PicDrop, is to talk about how important it is, of course, to take a different approach to the way we curate and present our work and share.
¡Edward! ¿Qué estás haciendo? ¡Abre la puerta! ¡Edward! ¡Abre esta puerta ya! ¡No lo hagas! ¡Samantha, no te alejes! Adiós, doctor. No tiene gracia, Doc. Gira.
Despacio.
¿Tú sabes quién soy yo? Sí, lo sabemos. Por eso sería mejor que hicieras justo lo que decimos. Un gran mal se acerca. Hay una cadena de acontecimientos que debe ponerse en marcha.
El futuro pende de un hilo. Despierta a los sujetos de prueba.
Richtofen, no sé qué estás pensando hacer, pero no lo hagas. No querrás ver lo que hay al otro lado de esa puerta.
No puedes imaginar siquiera el gran mal que podrías desatar.
Kaiser Permanente Medicare and Medicaid Health Plan brings your care and coverage together in one place. Your doctors, pharmacy, and your health plan all centered around you. Because when everything comes together, you get the care you need.
¡Carajo, Richtofen! Creía que me había librado de ti. ¿Qué puedo decirte, anciano? Las cosas cambian.
Hey guys, Sean Ryan with Digital
Solo un
Trade.
necio sabría cambiar la
I
historia.
did a
No soy tonto.
Q&A a while
Lo
back
que hago,
on
lo hago
the
solo
old
para asegurarme
IG,
un poco mejor.
and
Sí,
I got a
ya
question
veremos si
asking
vivimos
me
para
if I
verlo.
deal with social anxiety and or anxiety in crowds. And I thought that was a really good question. And so I answered it and gave me an idea. I thought I would do a video. So I put a couple of feelers out on YouTube and Instagram, and I was going to
Informe de
cater this whole
situación.
thing
El punto de
towards
inserción dimensional
kind
no
of
era
combat
correcto.
vets
Llegamos tarde.
transitioning in
Richtofen interrumpió la
social
continuidad
anxiety
establecida.
that we deal
Lo que
with
pasa
coming back
después es
into regular
incierto.
society. But
Agentes aliados
When I put the feelers
desaparecidos.
out, I
No me queda
realized,
otra
holy
opción que
shit,
continuar la misión solo.
a lot of people deal with this shit, me included. I deal with it probably on a daily basis if I leave my house. So, which is why I bought a place out in the middle of fucking nowhere. Because I don't like crowded people and I get anxious when I have to go to social functions. So I'm just gonna talk about these 6 things that I've used to kind of help me power through that shit and overcome social anxiety. So,
Infestación confirmada. Identificación
go.
positiva de 115 en la
Social
zona.
anxiety really
Como
hit
era de
me
esperarse,
hard
me falla la
when I
memoria.
left the area.
Incapaz de determinar la cantidad actual de
That's when
saltos
it
hasta
really
esta
kicked in for
ubicación.
me. I got
Dos
out,
al menos,
left
quizá
PA.
más.
I had no clue what the fuck I was gonna do, where I was gonna go. I had no hobbies other than drinking, and which made me feel pretty fucking insecure. Especially when you go to these social functions and it's all, doctors and lawyers and fucking stockbrokers, and this person has a fucking truckload of money, and this person, and you just constantly feel like you're being judged because you don't really have anything going on at that time. And to me, the 2 questions that I fucking was terrified of is, what do you do? And what are your hobbies? What do I do? Well, I wasn't doing it. I
Será
could
mejor
talk
que busque
about,
munición.
couldn't even talk about what I did.
Oh, sí,
Most of the
es
shit,
temporada de
I'll
caza.
probably never be able to talk about it. And that's fucking embarrassing. It's, for the past 14 years I've been doing this shit, but I can't tell you anything about it. And, I've been bothered. And then the other one was,
Después de
what are your
fracasar en la
hobbies?
obtención
I
de
don't
los
have any
datos,
fucking hobbies
se
other than
desconoce
getting
la
shit
ubicación
faced
actual
from
de
the
los
time I
sujetos de
get up
pruebas.
until the time I go to sleep.
Maldita
And
sea,
I don't sleep.
Richtofen. ¿Por
So,
qué siempre tienes que cargarla?
those are 2 questions that I would avoid, and amongst a whole slew of other emotions, and things that I was dealing with. But I found a couple of things that helped me out, and I've kind of broken them up a little bit here. 2 things that get me through social events. Still to this day, I still use this shit everywhere I go. Is 1, I don't ever put myself in a situation that I cannot get myself out of. 2, you need to find things that boost my confidence. Doesn't mean, when I mean confidence, I don't mean you don't have to be the loudest motherfucker in the room and the one that talks the most. You just have to find things that make you confident, which make you a little more comfortable in that particular setting. So let's go through these 6 things. So the first thing that I do is that kind of helps me and it relates to I don't ever put myself in a situation that I can't get out of is I don't do fucking
Estoy hasta el cuello de
I don't
mierda
do
de zona
taxis,
y sin
I don't do
munición aún
anything,
más.
I don't let
¡Puta!
people. I want my car keys in my pocket. That way, if I feel the anxiety starting to come on and I don't want to be there anymore, I know I can get the fuck out of there at a moment's notice. Doesn't mean you can't take a taxi out of there, but at least you have that sense of comfort and which gives you a little confidence knowing, all right, if I'm in a situation that I just don't want to fucking be in socially, I'll just leave. And that gives you a little bit of comfort. You don't have to wait on a taxi or call an Uber or make a big scene. You just fucking leave. So that would be my first piece of my first tip. Take your own car. If you get drunk, leave it there. Go get it tomorrow. But at least you have it. Hotel, as I kind of mentioned before, and if you want to get more in depth, you can click the link above and listen to the TMQ podcast I was on. But I ruined every relationship, all of them. And it got real fucking awkward, even with
No
family.
tiene
I'm
gracia,
still
Doc.
rebuilding that, and I still get a little anxious sometimes.
Despacio.
Friends, family, everyone. if I'm gonna go on an overnighter
Tú
somewhere, I
sabes
always run a
quién
hotel.
soy yo.
It gives me
Sí, lo
my little,
sabemos. Por eso sería mejor que
we
hicieras
just
justo
call
lo
it
que
a safe
decimos.
space.
Un gran mal
But
se
if I start
acerca.
getting
Hay una cadena de
angry or
acontecimientos que debe
anxious, a lot of
ponerse en
times
marcha.
my anxiety switches to anger immediately.
El futuro
I
pende
know
de
I need to leave before shit gets bad. And knowing that I have a hotel somewhere I can go to, it comforts me and gives me that confidence knowing like, all right, if things get out of control or if I just don't want to fucking be here, I don't have to make a scene and go, I'm fucking leaving or it's just, I have my hotel, I go there, I fucking cool off. Nobody even has to know where to go. Maybe you just say, oh yeah, I'm going to go return some emails. And, or I'm going to go, I got to make a phone call real quick. Go over there, go back to your hotel or wherever it is and, you know, do the whole woosah thing. Code words and or little phrases that you can say to a friend or your significant other or whoever. All right. But it has to be somebody that you can really fucking count on. Okay. I use my fiance, Katie, my special lady friend. And she knows when I say, this is my favorite song, it's time to fucking roll. I'm feeling uneasy and it's time to get the fuck out of there. And she makes it happen. I don't have to do shit. She comes up with the excuse on why we're leaving, or she just says, hey, Sean, I want to go. And then it's not even me, it's her. Now I've got to change it because everybody's going to know when I say this is my favorite song, it's time to fucking roll. But come up with anything. And it's got to be somebody that you trust. You can't be your buddy who's trying to pick up
un
fucking chicks at the
desafortunado giro
bar,
de los
who's
acontecimientos.
not going to
La
listen.
muerte del
You
alemán
can't
es
be,
lamentable. Me temo que el camino
the
que
football
hay por
game nut
delante sea
that's going
más
to sit there and
traicionero
go,
que
let's wait
antes.
till the end of the fucking quarter. When you say it, it needs to be somebody you trust that when you do say it, they're going to wrap it up and you're out the fucking door. And just knowing that you have that phrase and knowing that you have somebody that has your back no matter what is going to help give you that confidence and it's going to put you at ease a little more. It's going to make you a little more comfortable. And boom, there's back to I don't put myself in situations that I can't get myself out of. So find somebody to trust. Maybe it's your significant other, maybe it's your best friend. I don't know who the hell it is, but find somebody, come up with something, and stick with it.
It ain't a new thing. We really are what we eat. Make little choices. Maybe cut down on soda candy. Mix out a salad at lunch, and soon you'll be a wet.
Don't feel like you have to talk all the time. All right, I get intimidated all the fucking time when I'm out in social settings, especially in the very beginning when I got out 4 years ago. It was real bad. You constantly feel like people are putting you down. They might not even mean it,
Me
but
siento
you
infundido
don't
de
always have to talk.
algo.
Quick story. I used to go out to dinner all the time when I first got out with my neighbor's mom. Her name was Karen, and she was mid-70s, early 80s. She
Todo
passed
este
away.
tiempo he temido
But
el
I
disgusto
really
del emperador.
liked
No
going out
sé
to dinner
dónde
with
está,
her because I felt
pero
comfortable
sigo
with her.
siendo leal.
And
Esto nunca debo olvidarlo.
I would tell her. She would ask why I don't go out more, why I don't, go to these social functions more, and I would tell her, like, I'm fucking intimidated. I live in Boca Raton, Florida, and every motherfucker I meet is a fucking plastic surgeon or a doctor or a stockbroker or a money manager or some badass attorney. And here I am, not doing shit. Don't have a clue what the fuck I'm gonna do. I'm a social mess. So I wouldn't go anymore. And when I did, I wouldn't say anything. I'm not a talker. And I remember Fern told me, Sean, we don't have to say
No
shit.
me toques o
She's
serás
like,
destruido.
she said to me, just by you sitting there and listening with your background makes the entire room intimidated. She's like, I can't even believe you're telling me that you're intimidated by these
Me
people.
falta
She
munición.
said, see what you do. Take it in. Listen to them. People love to talk about themselves. Let them talk about themselves. All right? So I thought about
Mis
that,
sueños se
and
ven
I tried
acosados
it,
por espíritus.
and I'll be damned, I think
Temo
you're
que no
fucking
sean
right.
los de mis
So,
antepasados.
don't feel the need that you have to fucking talk. Don't be
Todas y
the
cada una
person
de
that,
las
you know,
balas
goes to the
disparadas
doctor,
nos
shut the
ayudarán
fuck
a
up.
avanzar.
Okay, just take a wrap off, you know. When just take a wrap off, stop, and just listen. You know, you don't have to have some badass explanation every question is asked. And, you know, I mean, if you don't understand something that somebody's saying, tell them. Yeah, I don't know this part of what the fuck you're talking about. I do that shit all the time. And, you know, it kind of is uncomfortable at first, but then when you realize, oh yeah, I'm talking over this guy's head, and he's got the confidence to say, yeah, you're not fucking impressing me. Why don't you just dial it down a little bit? Fucking layman's. I don't know what the fuck surgery you're talking about. So, anyway, that shit really helps me a lot. Drinking. This is the one nobody wants to hear. But when you're in a social setting, at least how I was, is I would pound fucking vodka nonstop, straight vodka on the rocks. Well, this kind of goes back to getting yourself into something that you can't get yourself out of. Once you're fucking hammered, you're hammered, which means you can't reverse it. You can't get yourself out of it. You're just there. And I don't know how you guys are, but when I'm hammered, nothing really good ever happens. My anxiety gets worse eventually. The anger gets worse, a lot worse, and I wind up doing shit that I regret in the long term. So, take a wrap off. You know, how I did it is I don't drink hard shit anymore. I don't do shots of fucking whiskey. I don't do shots of anything. I drink wine, I have a couple glasses, and I call it quits. Here's another thing. I get made fun of sometimes because I drink bubbly out of the can, but here's the deal. It's water with bubbles in it. Now look, I have an adult drink. It gives my hands something to do. My hands are doing something. Part of anxiety for me was, what the fuck do I do with my hands now that I'm not drinking anymore? Well, now I have a drink. It looks like, you know, got bubbles in it. It looks like it's fucking vodka or something. And it gives me something to do. I mean, it's like nobody's business. But, lay off the booze. It's gonna, nothing bad.
¿Munición u otra arma? Decisiones, decisiones.
And the last thing, get some therapy. All right, I went to therapy for, I believe, 3 years, twice a week, every fucking week.
Sin munición, más
There's a lot
diversión.
of therapy. So, and you know what? It helped me tremendously. And I know, there's like the stigma behind it where, oh yeah, I don't need any fucking help. And if you're like that, you're worried about what everybody else is thinking of it. Fuck you. All right. So just try it. Maybe it doesn't work for you. I don't know. But I tell you, the one thing that helped me more than anything was going to therapy, getting some help. And it's not all like
La
what you
fuerza de mis
think,
antepasados fluye por mis venas.
it also helps you understand what's going through other people's heads. And when you can understand what's going through other people's minds, that gives you confidence because you don't take shit so personally. You realize not everything that asshole is talking about is directed at me. fact, I have nothing to do with it, you know, and that's what you do. And then you start building that confidence. You know, you understand. You start to understand how the human mind thinks, you're not going to regret going to therapy. And somebody's going to give you shit for it. They're not your fucking friend anyway. Just tell them to fuck off. But anyway, those are 6 things that have really helped.
And it's a big deal. It's like a secret. It's like a loophole. But most people will never know it because they won't become free of it. You can't realize this until you become free of it. It's not the same as like you read something, some master says, oh, it's real important to realize and feel the bliss of the soul, this like propaganda. It doesn't mean anything unless you actually experience it firsthand. And those aren't, because this whole matrix, this whole world is set up and designed to keep you straight
El sonido del martillo da escaso consuelo.
just stay in this loop over and over and over again. You know what happens? You read this one. You can be stuck inside doing it on the satisfying thing. And it's not working. You just be it's only by grace making it through. So grace means somehow openness and willingness. But grace gives us that too.
Saqueo no conoce el
Hard
miedo
to
ni el
explain
dolor.
where do I start and where does grace start? So, you know, but once you miss this,
Mi bajito.
you feel it, you're resonating with it, then that means that you're already becoming open to these things, and there's an openness in you, and therefore grace can work on you. If you pay attention to this desire to be free, then grace can do something with that.
Debo buscar
People
munición.
who don't want to be free, they're not going to watch this. It's impossible. The energy field
Al menos
is
es
not
mejor que una pistola.
it's got it. Because the ego hates this. The ego hates
Los
to
muertos
say,
caerán ante
it
mí.
wants to stay stuck. It wants to hijack your vessel and keep you stuck in lust. Now, lust isn't just not talking about
Sonido del
sexual
trueno.
aggression, although
La visión
that's
de
the
la
core.
sangre.
But lust means anytime you're craving for something or thinking something out there is going to give you some security or some happiness or some deep satisfaction.
Los demonios
Like what?
temblarán ante mí.
This whole world's built on it. Everything. Look at the TV and all it's stuff insane. I shared it before when I went to the doctor. When I went to the doctor's office to get some X-rays like last year.
¡Puta!
You see on the monitor about like get this vaccine, get this check, before you go get this check. I'm like, you believe that, but it's all driven by money, love. I say that too. I feel before lust substrate, is substrate. And God created all.
Una vez más, el sol rojo prevalece.
Getting super intense and not easy to overcome. If this planet was full of men and women, and they didn't have this lust in them or this deep biological instinct to go mate
La
with each
suerte
other.
los favorece.
If that wasn't there, if they somehow discovered their oneness or their wholeness inside, to where then they appreciated each other, but it was like wasn't a big deal. And they depended on this wholeness inside to take care of them, satisfy them. They weren't overzealous or
Este le
excessive
gusta
about trying to get their security needs met and everything for a woman funnels through the channels of security? Am I gonna get
Una
security?
bebida
Am I
hecha
gonna
al
get the,
gusto de los gaijin.
because then it breaks. You can't experience any real holistic, unconditional love. And for a man, it's usually the lots principle. How has she looked? Yeah, yeah. Can we have sex? Yeah, lay down with me at night and be my arm candy during the day and tell me I'm great. All this stuff. If somehow those inordinate needs were,
Are you guys here for the halftime show?
Oh, no. We're here to help people customize and save with Liberty Mutual.
So that's why the emu is here?
Yes. And the emu has a name. Only pay?
As you walked in, we were talking about before that just growing up and how I had mentioned, because you noticed the social came in and we were talking about things that you did when you were a kid on the show that you don't even really remember, because I don't remember shit that happened to me like 2 years ago. And you're like 12 years old when you got, I didn't realize that you were 12, because it took a while for the pilot actually to get picked up, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about that. What do you remember about actually getting the role?
So I remember I was in school and it was one of those things where like they called you down to the principal's office and come up to mom and told you got the TV show.
Hemos
We
ofendido
went
al
through all the motions because
infierno.
at first it was kind of like you got a TV show that was on HBO and HBO wasn't really big on TV show. No, I think Kansas City maybe was like because like you said, we filmed the pilot in
Mueres
like
como un perro. Muere como un perro.
Right,
right.
96,
We were
97.
97. Yeah. So I don't know what year Secretary came out. We knew it came out maybe 22, but not, it just wasn't a thing where it was like, oh, really. But then, a couple of weeks went by and it was like, no, we're
Puta que me parió, culiao.
and this is it. Right. And then I remember going to set and Tony Sirico, who played Paulie Lomas, was like, no, we do this shit all the time. Like you're not going to be rich. We're never going to see each other again. Like this is a one and done, just like all the other ones we've done. And maybe we'll see each other at auditions or whatever. So now I have to go back and tell my family, like, Nick, no, this isn't it.
So he's telling you at 12 years old that tough shit, kid, you ain't gonna get it.
Oh, he had zero filter ever. He talks to a 12-year-old the same way he talks to an 8.
So he's telling you at 12 years old, he's like, tough shit, kid. You ain't gonna get that.
Oh, he had zero filter ever. He talks to a 12-year-old the same way he talks to an 80-year-old. Like you know, a lot of times people say, "I wish I got to meet James Gandolfini,"
Yeah.
and I say, you know, you would have loved him. He was amazing. And people say, "I wish I got to meet Tony Sirico." I'm like, you did. That's Tony Sirico. Like 100%. That is exactly Tony Sirico.
Yeah.
Tony, there are things in the script that came from because that's how he is. Like he was that guy. Like he's amazing.
Amazing. So he was telling you, you're not going to get this thing. It happens all the time, kid. Harsh reality. Here it is. And then that's your mentality as a 12-year-old. Go back to your parents, going, I don't think we're going to get this thing.
Yeah, it's like, no, we're gonna do one episode of this, and then we'll never hear about it ever again.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought. What happened? So now I was like, oh, I didn't get to go to summer camp because I was doing this stupid thing that we'll never hear about it.
Right.
Again.
And which is crazy about too, because as I heard you and I mentioned to you beforehand that you say you don't watch a lot of the stuff.
Sonic just became the coolest thing in coffee. You know, new iced coffees with cold foam, iced caramel lattes, and Oreo coffee.
With the Kaiser Permanente Medicaid Health, everything we do starts with you. Your doctors listen.
Ah!
It's your story. And you get extra help when you need it. Join us and discover a plan that's made for you.
You don't think that human beings possess free will?
We're born to this shit. Wild child. What makes a man change? And what makes a man, no matter how hard he tries? The Sopranos is a show all about relationships with the secret. And how family's well-being or business
Los
and
impuros se
forward
arrodillarán ante el poder del honorable.
and now his life is filled with consequences. He's both surrounded by people looking for the right, generous but selfish, confident but chaotic, gentle but harsh, protective but gentle, clever but cold, stoic but vulnerable, principled but perfect. With all of these contradictions in front and death constantly knocking at his door, the unavoidable question is
¡Puto!
person. We first meet
Yo, boludo, me lo paso, man.
panic attacks,
Pagaré esta
depression,
deuda
but
por
no
mi
matter how hard
honor.
he tries, year after year, he begins to accept that he may just be a prisoner of circumstance. While there are always many different paths, there's usually big food, the people we need to protect, and the persistent threats around him. Those options quickly narrow down as he continues to participate in an endless cycle of destructive behavior, partially because he hates the world, partially because he hates himself. But his relationship with Dr. Jennifer Nelson is what gives Tony the best.
Solo con ramitas y hojas no se hace una casa fuerte.
Let's examine his journey through 6 seasons of television and how it made him both a better and a worse person before the flavor. The very first episode indicates that Tony believes the golden of the mafia is over.
And lately, I've never seen it. Actually, pretty well. The best is over.
Which
Esto
shows us
sabe
that for Tony, happiness is
amar.
always as it reached. He presumes there are wilder times to describe than happy, but this isn't it.
Soy fuerte. Soy
Tony is
feroz.
overjoyed with
Soy
Tony's job,
taqueo.
flattered at the idea that they chose to give birth to this school as a diet and to raise their hope and life. But once the gets
De
over,
rápida. Es
Tony
un
passes
dato
out.
especial que mereces.
This moment reveals fear of Tony's fear. Fear of losing his family, the same way he lost the dog. Throughout the first season, Jennifer uncovers Tony's issues surrounding his rejection. Fears of his he spends her life making this lack of affection from his own mother leads Tony to seek out validation from his women, consistently cheating on his wife. His graduation from difficult next year as possible will make up for his complete lack of emotional. However, he's not used to investing in characters, so immediately
Tengo tantas ganas de enfrentarse a taqueo.
we're on the field. when she rejects his advances and explains that she's only acting as a command force and realizes that later, he exits,
El
focusing
verdadero
on
guerrero lucha por
the
su
honor.
honor, pero acepto humildemente esta bendición.
We see Tony feel rejected again when his neighbor invites him into his club. He's made to feel as a threat to his friend, and he's then informed that membership to his club is
Como un
even the
auténtico
therapy
samurái,
itself has to be secret.
acabaré
Tony
con
feels
ellos sin
being rejected
esfuerzo.
as his friends and colleagues as they hear his weakness to be attacked. But aside from the theme of rejection, season one also introduces Tony's concerns about his son Avo's behavior and how it may be an exception to his own, as his son may learn the truth about his criminal activity the same way he did with his son. This suggests that Tony believes a life of crime is something that's handed down from generation to generation, that free will doesn't exist. Jennifer says that these are just predispositions, but not destiny, which is a key difference in their worldview. Tony believes in determinism and that people can't change, but Jennifer believes in free will and personal growth.
Esto
When Tony
no sabe
discovers a
como
football
ningún
coach who's
refresco
having an
que
affair
haya
with a
probado
girl on his
antes.
football team, he takes it upon himself to instill them, until Jennifer confronts him, asking why he believes that he, Tony Soprano, has to be the weakest of Having been influenced by her belief in free will, Tony decides not to take it and the coach. But then Tony barely survives an assassination attempt, having committed by mother and uncle. His mother is bitter at Tony for putting him in nursing home. When he confronts his mother, he has Tony removed from This is what makes Tony feel like an unwanted monster, that his own mother
Sin munición, sin
even
armas,
behind the holes that
empieza la lucha real.
However, the one good thing that this near-death experience gave him was snapping him out of his depression. Tony now realizes that he doesn't want to die, which suggests the only thing that keeps Tony going is active danger. But it's a vicious cycle. The constant threat of death is what makes Tony with PTSD effective, but it's also what makes him depressed in the first place. But with his uncle in jail, Tony now becomes Captain Palmer in season 2, meaning he's taking on even more responsibility. Tony makes important progress.
Himawaliku.
But as always, the world tries to force his progress as now Jennifer's life would be in danger if she goes into hiding. This danger doesn't appeal to her, and she brutally tells Tony, "Get out of my life." Tony can't handle this rejection, as he views Jennifer as a motivator, and thus needs her acceptance. However, adopting a maternal role, she begins to worry about Tony in her spare time, haunted by dreams of him having panic attacks and crashing his car. So they continue their sessions together.
Every dream has a story. And this is the story of the bonds between generations. And those who dream fearlessly.
Tony has one key goal with therapy, to be in total control of himself, meaning no more panic attacks and the ability to direct his anger appropriately. But Tony's panic attacks are a symptom of feeling out of control of his own destiny, because life is just carrying him along a path that he can't stop. He tells her that when she called him to take him back as a promise, that he was waiting outside a courthouse, brutally beating someone up inside, and he wished he was the one in there. She asks him if he means he wants to be the one giving or taking the beating, which taps into Tony's self-hatred. If his own mother can't love him, then he doesn't deserve to love himself. It also touches on the cycle of violence, that it takes a hurt person to want to hurt others as a projection of what they want to do to themselves. But Tony's destructive behavior doesn't just affect him, it spreads like a disease. When his ex-mistress Irina tries to kill herself after he ends their relationship. When his nephew Christopher gets shot later in the season, Tony is forced to reflect on his own mortality and morality, as Christopher says he crossed over to the other side and experienced constant. When asked if he thinks his nephew will end up in heaven, Tony goes on a long rant about how only bad people deserve that. Sick people who take pleasure in hurting others. People like Hitler, But when she asks if he thinks he'll end up in hell, we see a very different look on his face. With Christopher, he had a defensive answer about how he's not really a bad person. But for himself, he has to create a new justification for his behavior.
The soldiers. Soldiers don't go to hell. Follow codes.
But when Jennifer doesn't accept that, Tony deflects to a story about how mistreated Italians were. And then tries to ignore the lies by saying that parties are big enough businesses
The GP Walkers, they were cops and killers too, but that was the business, right?
This is textbook Tony Soprano.
No
When he's
tiene
confronted with
gracia,
something
Doc.
he can't emotionally engage
Mira.
with, he either
Despacio.
lashes out or shuts down, sometimes emotionally or sometimes
Tú
physically.
sabes
As Jennifer
quién
states
soy
later,
yo.
rage is a
Sí,
big
lo
loud
sabemos.
self-distraction.
Por eso
with
sería
feelings
mejor que
that are
hicieras
even
justo
more
lo que
frightening.
decimos. Un gran mal
Just
se
being posed a
acerca.
simple question.
Hay una cadena de acontecimientos que
Hell
debe ponerse
requires
en marcha.
It's just feelings inside us, and then reaches for the
El futuro
expectation,
pende de un
something
hilo.
honorable, like an
Despierta
innocent
a los
soldier
sujetos de
following
prueba.
orders. And then when he realizes he's the one giving the orders, the story switches to a victimized underdog story, in which they're no worse than anyone else. A big theme for Tony Soprano is the word responsibility, and it takes on a dual meaning. Responsibility isn't just something you take when you do wrong, it's something you possess for others. On the one hand, Tony can't accept responsibility for what happened to Christopher, or the violent life that he built for himself and placed
Richtofen,
his family
no sé qué
in.
estás pensando
On
hacer,
the
pero
other hand,
no
he
lo
has the
hagas. No querrás
responsibility
ver
to
lo que
lead,
hay al otro.
and can't afford to soften where he puts everyone at risk, especially himself. This is what makes Tony not believe in free will, as there's an internal battle between wanting to attend therapy or heal himself and an external reality.
¿Dónde
himself
está?
in the top of
Ese
the
asqueroso,
This
apestoso,
scene is one of
inmundo
the
alemán.
first signs
Estaba
that no matter
aquí.
how much
Ahora se
progress
fue.
they make in recessions,
Pagará por
Tony
lo que
will not be
hizo.
able
Ya
to
lo
stop
creo
the
que
change,
pagará.
as his internal revelations aren't compatible. He's not secularly housing. For instance, in season 2, he then has to clean up Richie's body to protect his sister, and then has to murder his friend Pussy because he was wearing a wire, as this way he protects everyone. So it's no wonder that when Jennifer tries to confront Tony's true feelings about his mother and all the pain that resides there, Tony acts like a bold child, deflects, insults, and storms out. It's almost like he realizes, I can't afford to have these revelations, as I need to be able to keep functioning, to keep myself and my family alive. In essence, it's not worth the risk. Season 3 starts with Tony's mother dying, which Tony says he's happy about, but then uses the fact that he's happy about it to conclude that he must be a bad son.
Is that right? Wishing her dead? That being a good son? A bad son?
His friend, yeah.
They should die.
This is his way of always taking full responsibility for his modern motherhood. That he should have been a better person, and if he were, then she would have given him what he wanted, unable to accept that perhaps it was his mother who was the problem, not him. Tony might hope that once his mother is gone,
Maldita
he can no
confusión.
longer be
Debo recordar mi misión.
However,
¿Por
he
qué
seeks
estoy
out a
aquí?
romantic relationship with Gloria.
La máquina de guerra del enemigo
He
debe
says
ser
Gloria is
destruida.
Jennifer, but perhaps she only really reminds him of what he talked about in therapy, his mother.
Sabes,
Tony
probablemente
later
podría
discovers
usar
that
esto para
Gloria
taponar
is
una
just
herida.
a doctor.
It's just like you. Bottomless black hole.
I'm not gonna
Despite his toxic dynamic with Gloria, there's a running theme throughout season 3 of Tony trying to protect Gloria, which turns the audience on his side more and more, as we tend to agree with Tony when he follows his own moral compass.
Save you hundreds by customizing your car insurance. And his partner Doug is the gentleman who the security guard.
Only pay?
Debo encontrar la forma de sobrevivir a esta pesadilla. Quizá estas máquinas me ayuden a deshacerme de las malditas hordas. Este sabor es desconocido en Rusia.
starts in therapy, when Jennifer has a breakthrough with Tony after he experiences a flashback to his first childhood. He had just witnessed his father cutting off Professor's finger when he was only 11 years old. Seeing his mother exposed himself to delivery and slicing into the head, how sympathizing he did today. So we can see there's anger at the bullet, but by the reality of it, and terrified of hunger, he too this shows us that Tony is also just like his son, thinking. But when Jennifer is brutally assaulted, her husband is useless, and criminal justice system. We can see there's a temptation for Jennifer to tell Tony what will happen, and the audience feel a real However, after having such a breakthrough with Tony in the previous episode, Jennifer resists her temptation and doesn't Tony would inevitably revert to his old ways and corrupt their relationship, just like the rest of the relationships in his life. As much as Tony engages in moral activity, this situation shows us that it's not all so bad. But there is a place between karma and the beyond that, when Jackie Jr. was able to draw her and Tony's not taking this very seriously, he threatened her, showing us that Tony's fears for Daddy Beto could fall to his father, in the same way he stood for someone just like his father. And then Rob killed Tracy and James Griffith, who was tried for the defense. Now we see that Tony really has nothing in common with the soldier father as he actively breaks the rules and tells Rob, the named man, at the base. This all feels like progress, only seeing the connection between how his behavior affects the world around him, as it seems to act like a feedback loop. If he wants to be less miserable, he has to create less misery and do what he feels is right. In season 4 takes on the theme of self-medication. It starts with Tony thinking about how his story will end, realizing that his current destiny is to wind up in jail or care.
Dead?
Or
6%.
You never talked this straight.
Jennifer proposes giving up the job, which may appear to be the most logical choice, but if he quits, he would be too high risk. Instead, he decides to turn his collective luxury He's thinking about how doing this means he already struggled with himself. Tony is then deeply disturbed to discover that his ex-girlfriend's loyalty and relationship. His other ex, Irina, may have attempted it, but the real this instant happens in home, which changes him. When he begins to show more affection and care for those he perceives as vulnerable. For example, he validates Irina's feelings for him by using up her new boyfriend, despite that he's and when it affects the health of paying the money to Ocean, Tony lets him slip and rushes to his side to ensure he doesn't want to be responsible for another suicide. But Tony also struggles more to let people go. When he tries to end his secret affair with Rob's girlfriend Valentina, he writes her a goodbye note, stating, "It was great while." When you see that this positive story, the words, "It was great while lasted," reminds him of despite it being against the code, he steals Valentina away from him. He also not accepting someone else's perspective agreement. Similar to the drugs during season 1, Tony expresses his workplace with an innocent animal, Alex Racing, doing whatever it takes to care for the animal to keep it control. But then he discovers Rob playing down the stables for insurance them, killing his horse in the process. Here Tony is trying to become a better person, looking out for people, and Ralph is harming innocent creatures. Tony's rage boils over as he kills Rob, having to become a monster in order to defeat another monster. But this is totally against the rules, and could get Tony killed, so he tries his luck and twists it to help get rid of the body. As always, Tony demonstrates hypocrisy. He spends all this time trying to be a good person and not harm anyone he views as vulnerable, but he doesn't recognize the trauma that he put in Christopher through and helping him clean up his family. And while Tony is focused on all these other women in his life, he neglects Carmela, his wife, who deals with Tony's distance by developing an emotional relationship with Julia. Hearing about one of Tony's many affairs pushes her over the edge, which leaves her. And as they argue, clarifies,
I know you're getting away from Tony and your friend. Which is probably why you hate him.
which is an interesting way of understanding Tony's motivation. When it comes to others who don't know him fully, he
Es
sees rejected
insistente,
and wants to
como
win
un
them over.
patético
The people
capitalista.
who know him most intimately, like Carmela or Christopher, he's willing to prove that.
Acabo de matar a 100 zombies seguidos.
What?
¿Dónde estaban los demás?
System on premise outlet.
Oh, whatever. I don't know. That was a stupid thing.
¡Fuegos artificiales! ¡Ah! ¡Fuegos artificiales sangrientos!
Tony ends his therapy, seeming to have made peace with the fact that he is interested and talking about his favorite friend. But then in season 5 he tries to date this therapy, claiming he intentionally built a time away from their professional relationship so they could start it romantic. He's persistent, even suggesting they go romantic sides of he doesn't know it.
You've never seen him.
However, Tony doesn't realize, due to who he is, this sentence carries a dual meaning. This other side to Tony Soprano could be viewed as his nice, soft, romantic side, or as a brutal murderer. When he corners her about why she won't date him, Jennifer states that she doesn't have his values, that he's not truthful, that he's not respectful of women, people, and that he takes things by force. This painful rejection causes Tony to be abandoned. This happens again later in the season, when he nearly hooks up with Christopher's fiancée, Adriana. Jennifer commends Tony for not automatically sleeping with her, that this is something of a milestone for him, that he didn't just act on impulse and give in to his vices, that he did it with the motivation and maturing goals. This is real progress. However, when Tony and Adriana wind up in a car accident at 2 a.m. while Christopher is out of town, everyone jumps to conclusion. It's at this moment a raging Christopher tells Tony what he really thinks of him. So now we see Tony paying the price for a crime he didn't even commit, because it's in line with his normal pattern of behavior. This yet again teaches Tony that the world is a mirror. You get back what you hand out. Having seen how much he has hurt Chris and Carmela, Tony tones down his womanizing, finds a way to make peace, and reunites with his wife. He also sees that his sister Janice is doing much better when she starts attending anger management classes, and later learns from Jennifer that depression is rage turned inward. But despite being told all of this information, it doesn't actually help Tony to resist or control his violent outbursts. After his cousin is released from jail, Tony reveals the truth that he was meant to be on the same job that got his cousin pinched, but that he missed the job because he had an argument with his mother, had a panic attack, fainted, and hit his head. His panic attacks appear to be caused from feeling overwhelmed, fear of danger, a form of self-protection, a quality that he hates about himself as a weakness. Yet ironically, it's the only thing that keeps him out of harm's way. When his cousin turns bad and kills for his brother, he has to go into hiding as powerful mobsters are calling for his head. But driven by pure sentimentality and guilt for his cousin going to jail instead of him, Tony refuses to give him up, despite how weak it makes him look. But the stress of all of this results in Tony having a recurring dream in which he's in the back of his father's Cadillac, which suggests that Tony is out of control.
¿Dónde está? Ese
His
asqueroso,
father being the
apestoso,
driver of the
inmundo
car
alemán.
suggests
Estaba
that this
aquí.
fate was
Ahora
something
se fue.
handed down to him.
Pagará
It
por
seems
lo
as
que
if Tony
hizo.
feels
Ya
his
lo
own
creo que pagará.
The dream expands to Tony going to dinner to meet his daughter's fiancé's parents, and Tony's teeth start falling out, showing concern for what other people think of him. And he then ends up having to run away from an angry mom, showing us that Tony's realizing that he has no choice except for taking his cousin out. This happens consistently, no matter how much progress Tony makes psychologically, whether he tries to be a better person or stand up for what he believes is right. The rules of this world are usually hard. It's always one step forward, two steps back. Or as Michael Corleone wrote about his Godfather Part 3, if
Maldita
Bonaparte
confusión.
says,
Debo
"Faithful
recordar mi misión. ¿Por qué
those who
estoy
inflict
aquí?
a grudge against the with his
La máquina de guerra del
Tony
enemigo debe
spends the
ser
rest of the year,
destruida.
but means there's no change. He doesn't feel he ever really had a choice, but he still resents himself because he's not sure if so he's constantly interrogating himself. The question, was I born a monster, or am I just choosing? The end of season 5 is all about sacrifice and the horrors of the world that Tony inhabits.
Kaiser Permanente Medicare and Medicaid health plan brings your care and coverage together in one place. Your doctors, pharmacy, and your health plan all centered around you. Because when everything comes together, you get the care you need.
Of all the Soprano characters, Dr. Jennifer Melfi is the most unique. Melfi is Tony's psychiatrist throughout the 6 seasons of the show. Through their weekly sessions, we not only get a look into Tony's psyche and the trauma that makes him who he is, but also get some of the best scenes in the series. While all the other characters on the show are connected to Tony through his family or his criminal life, Melfi is unique in that she has no part of that world. Her relationship to Tony is professional. She's his doctor and he is her patient. She maintains a respectful distance so that she never loses her objectivity in treating Tony. Or does she? Throughout the show, we see Melfi cross ethical boundaries many times. Sometimes this is forced on her by the fact that she's treating a mobster. Other times, her own personal feelings for Tony get in the way of treating him. And the way their relationship comes to an end leaves many people wondering, was she even a good therapist at all? So let's take a look at Dr. Melfi as a character and see how good of a therapist she really was. We're first introduced to Melfi in the very first scene of the pilot episode. Tony is sent by his family doctor to Melfi after he collapses during a barbecue. With no physical symptoms, his doctor thinks it might have been a panic attack and sends him to a psychiatrist to see if she can help him. Tony, being an old school mafioso, finds it difficult to open up to a shrink, let alone a woman.
Look, it's impossible for me to talk to a psychiatrist.
He's deeply embarrassed by his panic attack, thinking that it makes him look weak. He also fears that if any of his associates ever found out he was in therapy, they might think he was revealing secrets that haven't been healed. Over the course of the first season, he begins to open up to her about the things that bother him in his life. They build a rapport, and slowly starts to get at the heart of his problem, namely his toxic relationship with his mother, Livy. However, this is cut short when Junior
Debo
discovers
encontrar la
that
forma de sobrevivir a esta pesadilla.
this, among
Quizá
other
estas máquinas me ayuden a
conflicts
deshacerme de las
leads
malditas
Junior to
hordas.
arranging a hit against Tony. The hit fails, but worried that Junior might go after him, Tony tells Melfi that she needs to leave town. Melfi is obviously
Ese
distressed
sabor es
by the
desconocido en Rusia.
While fighting out, one of her patients commits suicide, but she wasn't able to reach him. When the conflict ends, Tony approaches her about starting therapy. However, Melfi now wants nothing to do with Melfi. Tony tries to go on without her, finds that he needs someone to talk to about his problem. He tries to talk to people like pets, but most of the time, they just end up bored by his constant complaints. Meanwhile, Melfi starts to feel guilty about
Muerte
abandoning
rápida
Tony.
para los indignos.
She worries that without therapy, Tony's panic attacks